It's extremely rare on the roadshow to see what I consider to be wonderful pieces of sculpture.
Thank you very much indeed.
Something like that.
Lovely, it's lovely, thank you.
Oh my God.
I absolutely adore him.
You
yes,
do?
Yes.
That's great. Where does he come from?
Well, he's been part of my life from when I was a very small girl. I only know my father got him at an auction, but whether it was a house auction or a public auction, I've no idea.
Do you know anything about him?
No, not a lot, no. Just that he used to be called Toil.
Toil?
Yes.
Well, it fits. He is part of a whole tradition of making very strong, in a sense, social realist bronzes. He's French, you probably knew that, by
Drouot,
Edouard Drouot,
yes.
which is
Yes, on
somewhere
the
on the
side,
frontier.
yes.
And in the early years of this century, bronze sculptors began to shift away from classical figures and naked ladies and all that sort of thing,
Yes.
and they began to look at what was actually happening out there in the world. They did farm labourers, they did industrial workers, and here we have a very, very dynamic figure of presumably a quarry worker.
Yes.
What I like about him is this very, very strong triangular shape. The power that he's putting into it, you can really feel it.
You
And all
can.
these muscles,
Yeah.
and the stress taken on that leg with his clogs.
It's fantastic.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
The only thing that I find slightly strange is, in fact, if you look at the way the hands are pushing down on the wheelbarrow, he'd actually be putting it down, wouldn't he?
Absolutely, I think I see what you mean, yes.
He
yes.
should be
Up.
hauling it
Yes.
up.
Well, how
So-
old do you think it is?
I think it's about 1900,
Do you?
the
I
end of the 19th century.
I think probably my father bought it in about the early 20s,
Well,
1920s.
that makes sense. Now, do you know what he paid for it?
I've honestly no idea.
Not much, I think.
wouldn't have thought so. No.
Right. Have you got it insured? Do you know any idea
No,
of its
I
value?
haven't got a clue. No.
It's a treasured object. Because of its subject matter and because of the power of the modelling, we should say, I think, about £2,000-3,000, something like that.
Lovely. It's lovely. Thank you.
Naked ladies.
Yes.
Why have we got naked ladies?
Well, I went to an auction and I just fell in love with them.
How
I
much?
paid £50 each, but not at the same auction. About a year apart.
Question is, why were they made?
I'm not sure.
Well, these date from about 1900, 1905. They were made in Germany. They're made of porcelain. And these have always puzzled me slightly because here you've got two naked women and another naked lady lying down at a time when naked women were just not part of the scenery. You know, we're talking here late Victorian, early Edwardian, and you saw a woman's ankle and you were overcome with emotion. And here we've got naked women. So who were these made for and why? I think one explanation is possibly they were just bits of amusement which one man gave to another and they went into the billiard room for a bit of fun. I think another possibility is these are, because they're German, nude bathing was quite common in Germany at this time.
Was it?
Yeah, and still is. This one's very amusing because somebody has knitted her a bathing costume out of, I don't know what, a stocking material or something, which one's only got to move down a bit and she's got her nakedity still there. I think they're great fun, and they are collectible. They are collectible. They're almost never marked. One factory which did make comparable... Oh yes, I'm so sorry. You're quite right. One factory that did make them was Gebäude Heubach.
Yeah, they make dolls.
That's absolutely right,
don't they?
yeah, at Licht. And it's possible that they come from there, but I'm not sure. I think your £50 was well spent because I think the reclining lady, with or without her bathing costume, is worth in the region of £70 to £100. And the second one with the two naked ladies, which is terribly rare, I can see that one making £200 without any trouble at all.
Very nice. Well, I love them.
Well, that's the main thing. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, this is a truly rare and exciting piece, I think. It's extremely rare on the roadshow to see what I consider to be wonderful pieces of sculpture. And here is something that, the like of which I haven't seen for years and years. Now, tell me, where does it come from?
This has been in my family, well, forever as far as I know.
Do you know who she is?
We're told it's my great-grandmother.
And you know who the sculptor is?
I've read on the back.
Dalou.
Dalou, yes.
Aimé Jules Dalou, 1838 to 1902, was one of the founder figures in the sense of modern sculpture. When he was young in France, he reacted against the formal classical traditionalism of the French sculptural world, and he became well known for his humanity, his naturalism. In 1870-71, he got into trouble politically. He took part in the Commune in Paris, which meant he had to flee, and he came to England. And he was in England between 1871 and 79, which of course is when they could have met, because I believe the date is what?
It's dated 1873.
That's perfect. While he was in England, he taught at the South Kensington School of Art, and therefore formed the taste for modern sculpture in Britain. So he's a key figure, and his way of working, of course, takes us straight to Rodin. When you look at this piece, you're looking at Impressionism in sculpture. Look at the wonderful free way it's drawn. It's not just the details of the face, she's a very pretty woman, but look at the way the hair is drawn. It's so simple, so casual. You've got these plaits drawn up. It's almost like a sort of photograph. It's just been taken instantaneously. This is a critical piece of sculpture, not just in the forming of French taste, but more important in the forming of British taste. British sculpture was never the same again after the impact of Dalou. There is some damage. There are cracks occurring, unfortunately, across the face. This is the nature of terracotta. You know, it's quite a low-fired material. I've never sort of even handled a Dalou, so to be able to touch it is a wonderful moment.
And I have to carry it home.
You have to carry it home. I suppose we have to think about value.
Well, I'd like an idea because, as you say, it's an unusual thing, and I know absolutely nothing about that sort of thing, that world.
Well, if I told you that not that long ago, a Dalou bust sold at Sotheby's for over £30,000, gives you some idea of where we're going. This is not on that league. That was a prettier one, and it had no damage. But I think if we said £25,000, we wouldn't be far adrift. He's a really major figure. And to me, it's as though you've brought a Monet into the roadshow.
It's great granny that sits up there on a high shelf in the living room.
To you, she's your great granny.
Yeah.
To me, she's a great piece of art, and I'm so delighted to see it. It's really made my year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've very kindly brought these very dramatic Russian bronzes in. They scream Mother Russia. Which one is your favourite?
The Cossack.
And why is that?
There's a lot of family history behind it. My great-grandfather ran a cotton mill in St. Petersburg. In the early 20th century, there were a lot of industrial strikes, and he was forced in 1905 to intervene in a dispute between the workers and management over the working hours. The normal method of resolving disputes in those days was to send the Cossacks in.
Ow.
And they used to beat the workers into submission. But in this case, he decided that that was not the way to go. And he set up a workers' council to mediate and to reinstate the workers' rights.
And here we have the plaque along the front that says, "You did without them." So this is from the very grateful workforce.
It was. So when he retired in 1907, he was given that.
I see. And there's actually a plaque on the back presented to Joseph Hadfield, your great-grandfather, Esquire, by the Office and Hospital of the Nevsky Cotton Mills. Hope you like my pronunciation there.
Very impressive.
St. Petersburg, June 1907. What a wonderful bit of family history. As you know, it's a mounted Cossack, and the original was cast by a man called Evgeny Lanceray. He was Franco-Russian, hugely popular. This I would probably describe as a late 19th century cast, and it's a very wonderful thing. Tell me about that one.
I know very little about that. I know I inherited it from my father, who in turn inherited it from his mother.
Came back with Hadfield.
Came back with Hadfield.
OK, so you knew it's Russian. It is by a very, very good sculptor called Nikolai Libarik, hugely respected. The thing that he was most appreciated for, believe it or not, was the texture and the finish that he could achieve with depictions of wild animals. And here we have this wonderful example of exactly that, the bear's fur. They're both quite shiny, I can't help noticing. Are you a keen polisher?
I was last weekend.
It's not necessarily a good thing to do with antique bronzes. It takes away the original patina, which does sadly affect the value. Which brings us neatly onto the question of their worth. This one is probably in the region at auction of 2,000 to 4,000 pounds. If it weren't so highly polished, you could have doubled those figures. The Liberic is, again, quite highly polished, so I think that that one at auction is only 20 to 40,000.
Thank you very much indeed.
Beautiful things.
Pretty girls have been used to selling commodities for well over 100 years, and here we are in a grocery shop with lots of female figures about us selling this and that and various commodities, but one particularly pretty young lady here. Tell me about her.
Well, she was found by my sister in France, in an antique shop in France, I suppose 20, 25 years ago. She lived with my sister until my sister died 2 or 3 years back, at which time she was passed over to me.
So it's a family inheritance?
And a family inheritance.
And
since then.
what do you think of her?
I think she's absolutely beautiful.
Why?
It's just the it's the colour, but it's the serene look on her face, I think, which is the attraction to me and to everyone who seems to see her and comes into contact with her.
Yeah. Well, ceramics, the history of pottery and porcelain is always regarded as one of the minor crafts. It's not regarded as great or high art. I actually don't take that line at all. I think that, there are good ceramics, there are bad ceramics, and a piece like this is certainly a sculptural work of art. It just so happens that it's not a one-off. It's a piece which originally would have been done as a single clay model. It would have been approved by the head of the workshop, in this case, someone called Frederick Goldscheider, and he would say, yes, let's put this into production. They would have made moulds, and from the moulds, plaster of Paris moulds, they would then have been able to make, in this case, what is actually a terracotta figure. This is an earthenware figure, and they would have been able to make many. So it's art for the masses, if you like. And the piece actually dates to pretty closely within, say, 15 years of this shop. Goldscheider, Frederick Goldscheider died in 1897, and he was one of the great exponents, or his workshops were, of the Art Nouveau period. And here we have a typical, rather sultry-looking maiden, but very beautiful, statuesque girl, looking rather demure. And sure enough, her title, Purity, tells us all. This is not a glazed piece. This is what we call cold painted. These are cold pigments painted on top of the earthenware. There is the tablet, which tells us this is a piece of fine art. It's not your ordinary common all garden little figurine. If you were to buy something like this from a smart London shop that specialised in this Art Nouveau style, you would probably have to pay at the top end of somewhere getting on for £2,000. She's a very, very fine lady.
Thank you very much indeed.
And show me this woman. Let's take her out. Slow. Oh, she's a weight. I deal in Art Deco and have done for 30 years. And from 100 paces, it's quite obvious who this bronze and ivory figure is by. Because the name is here, it's Gadago. Now, date-wise, around about 1925, 1930. I mean, this girl, to me, looks as though she could have had a walk-on part as a Star Wars princess.
Yes.
Don't you think so?
Very much so.
Because the thing about Gadago is that he is such a dramatic sculptor, and he's very happy to include plenty of colour. He's not big on ivory. If you look, just the face, and look at those lips.
Yes.
Those are kissing lips, are they not? 1925 style. And those fingers are so elegant. They're beautifully, beautifully carved. And then as for the actual skirt itself, it's enamelled in wonderful bright colours. And then set off on a base of polished green Brazilian onyx.
Okay.
If she was a car, she'd be a Rolls Royce.
Oh, good.
Okay. The last selection of Gadago bronze I remember turning up in London were sold as part and parcel of the Elton John collection.
Oh, okay.
So you're in good company, actually, when it comes to collecting pedigree.
Yeah.
They tend, in the main, to be desirable, consequently expensive. So I'll start with Australian
Australian dollars this time. And so you're looking nearer 48,000 Australian. We're talking about £20,000 sterling.
Oh my God, that's not... Oh my God.